Hi guys, it's Emma AITA, your favorite AI slop tuber. Before we jump into today's video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks so much for your support. Now, let's get right into the video. AITA for giving away my girlfriend's dog while she was on a business trip. When I, 32 male, met Jessica, 28 female, one of the first things I learned about her, right after her obsession with vintage film cameras and how she always left the last sip of her coffee untouched, was that she had a dog. A big one. His name was Bruno, and he was a 95-pound mix of what I can only describe as pure chaos. Part Great Dane, part German Shepherd, part Tasmanian Devil. I'm a dog person, or at least I used to be, but Bruno wasn't just a dog. He was a lifestyle, a commitment, a four-legged wrecking ball with a bark that could crack drywall and a habit of chewing through anything left unattended for more than 30 seconds. When Jessica and I started dating seriously, I was living in a modest apartment downtown, and she was out in the suburbs with a backyard and a rental she shared with a friend. Bruno, of course, had free reign of her place. At first, I found him charming in a rugged sort of way. He'd leap onto the couch beside me like a missile, tail wagging like a whip, tongue lolling with unearned confidence. But over time, the novelty wore off. He'd bark at the mail carrier, lunge at joggers when we walked him, and once bit a hole through the drywall trying to get to a squirrel on the other side of the window. When her lease was up last fall, Jessica moved in with me. We'd talked about it for months. We were both excited. She brought plants, books, her camera collection, and Bruno. I was hesitant, but I didn't want to be that guy. You know, the one who makes her choose. So I agreed. We'd make it work. She promised to train him better. She said he'd calm down in a new space. Spoiler, he didn't. The problems started almost immediately. Bruno didn't adjust well to apartment life. He'd whine at night, bark at every noise in the hallway, and completely lost his mind during thunderstorms. We had 2 noise complaints from neighbors within the first week. I bought a white noise machine. I bought special calming dog chews. Nothing helped. My landlord warned me once. A second complaint would come with a fine. A third could mean eviction. I tried talking to Jessica. I suggested doggy daycare, more walks, obedience classes. She was defensive at first, then evasive. He just needs time, she'd say. Or, he senses your stress, you need to relax. I was losing sleep. I started working from cafes just to get away from the chaos. I even caught Bruno gnawing on the leg of my custom desk, the one I built myself in grad school. When I confronted Jessica, she just said, "It's just furniture." But it wasn't just the desk, it was everything. My things, my space, my sanity. I love Jessica. I do. But living with her and Bruno was slowly ruining my life. And then came the business trip. She was scheduled to be gone for 10 days, a conference in Atlanta followed by a site visit in Texas. I thought she'd take Bruno to her parents or a boarding kennel, but no. She left him with me. "Just stick to his routine," she said, breezing out the door like she wasn't leaving me with a deranged wolf. "He's easy once you get used to him." She kissed me goodbye. Bruno howled the minute the door shut. The first night without Jessica was a disaster. Bruno paced the apartment like a caged lion. He whined, barked, scratched at the front door, and refused to eat. I tried everything, his usual food, treats, even scrambled eggs, which Jessica swore he loved. Nothing. Around 3 a.m., he finally settled under the kitchen table, but by then I was already wired from stress. I showed up to work the next morning bleary-eyed and late, only to come home and find Bruno had shredded a pillow, peed on the welcome mat, and knocked over a lamp. I called Jessica. She didn't answer. I texted her, "We need to talk. He's not okay. I'm not okay." She replied 4 hours later with, "Sorry, bad reception in the hotel. Give him time. He just misses me." That became the pattern. Me, drowning. Her, absent. I started leaving Bruno alone for short stints just to run errands, but he would bark the whole time. I got another complaint from the building manager, along with a written warning. That was strike 2. On day 4, Bruno escaped. I'd gone out to get groceries and came home to find the door slightly ajar. My heart stopped. I spent an hour frantically searching the block, calling his name like an idiot, only to find him 2 blocks over, sitting in someone's front yard like he belonged there. He didn't run. He just looked up at me, head tilted, as if wondering what took so long. I leashed him and dragged him back home, but I was shaken. That night, I sat on the floor of my bathroom and cried. I'm not a crier. But the combination of sleep deprivation, stress, and sheer helplessness broke something in me. I texted Jessica again, more forcefully this time. Me. "I can't do this. You need to come home early or find someone else to take him." Her. "Alex, I'm literally working. You said you'd try. Just hang in a few more days." Me. "I'm not okay." Her. You're overreacting. And maybe I was. Maybe I was being dramatic. But I couldn't keep living like that. Bruno needed more than I could give him. Jessica wasn't hearing me. And then, something happened that changed everything. It was early on the 6th morning. I was finally sleeping. A deep, dreamless, blackout kind of sleep. When I woke to the smell of smoke. Panic surged through me. I bolted upright. Bruno was howling from the living room. The source wasn't a fire, thank God, but a scorched blanket. Apparently, Bruno had knocked over a space heater during the night. It had burned a hole through one of the blankets on the couch and melted part of the rug. The apartment stank. The alarm hadn't gone off, but it could have. It should have. We were lucky. I stared at the damage for a long time. And then I made a decision. I called an old co-worker, Amanda, who now volunteered at a rescue group. I explained the situation, the behavior issues, the stress, the safety risk. She was sympathetic. She said they might be able to help place him with a family more suited for his needs, maybe someone with land or dog experience. It wouldn't be immediate, but they could take him in and work on rehabilitation. I didn't tell Jessica. Not yet. That afternoon, I drove Bruno across town to Amanda's facility. He was calm in the car, oddly calm. Maybe he sensed something. Maybe he was just tired too. I filled out the paperwork, signed over temporary custody, and left. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel relief. I felt nothing. Until Jessica called that night. I didn't pick up right away when Jessica called. I was sitting on the couch, lights off, the apartment eerily quiet without Bruno's panting or restless pacing. Her name lit up my phone again and again until finally I answered, more out of dread than willingness. "Hey," I said. There was a pause. Then, "Where's Bruno?" Straight to it. No small talk. No warmth. Her voice had that brittle edge I'd come to associate with deep anger barely held back. I swallowed hard. "He's safe. I took him to a rescue facility." Silence. Then the air cracked. "You what?" "I couldn't keep him here, Jess. He almost burned down the apartment. The building manager was about to fine us again. I've had zero sleep. I begged you to help." "You got rid of my dog?" Her voice broke like glass. "My dog? You don't just— What the hell is wrong with you?" I tried to explain. I told her about Amanda, how it wasn't a shelter but a rehab center with a track record for helping high-needs dogs, how they were going to evaluate him and find him a better fit, that it wasn't permanent, not yet, that if she came back and still wanted him, she could take him from there. She didn't hear any of it. Or maybe she did and didn't care. "I trusted you," she said, quieter now, but no less furious. "You didn't even ask. You just decided." "I did ask," I snapped. "You ignored me. You brushed it off. Every time I said I wasn't okay, you acted like I was being dramatic. What was I supposed to do? Wait until the apartment caught fire? Until someone got hurt?" "He's my family," she said, voice trembling. "You knew that. You said you loved me." "I do. But I'm not going to destroy my health and home for a dog I didn't ask for and you refused to manage." That's when she hung up. I didn't hear from her for 2 days. I didn't even know if she'd come home. When she did, it was with a cold, armored silence I didn't recognize. She walked past me, grabbed a duffel, and said she was staying with a friend. She didn't ask about the apartment. She didn't ask how I was. Just, "I'll be back for the rest of my stuff." I texted Amanda to let her know Jessica might reach out. She told me Bruno was adjusting, slowly, that he was skittish and reactive but eating again, that he might be placed with a handler in a rural area if Jessica didn't reclaim him within the week. I told Jessica that. She left me on red. A week passed. Then another. She never went to see him, never called the rescue. Then, one night, I got an email. Not a text, not a call. An email. "I've thought about it. I'm staying at my sister's. I can't forgive you. Not for this. Maybe one day I'll understand, but not now. Bruno was all I had for years before you. And now he's just gone. Don't contact me." And that was it. 4 months have passed since then. I haven't reached out. I've seen photos of Bruno on the rescue's Instagram. He's been adopted by a couple in the country, on a small farm with goats and a fenced-in acre. He looks happy. Lighter. I, on the other hand, feel split down the middle. I still love Jessica. I still think about her every day. But I don't know if I was wrong. I tried everything. I begged her to see reason. But in her eyes, I'm the villain. And part of me wonders if I was. The aftermath of Jessica leaving felt like an emotional hangover I couldn't sober up from. The apartment, once filled with Bruno's chaotic energy and Jessica's plant-covered warmth, now echoed with emptiness. I should have felt relief, and in fleeting moments, I did. Sleep returned. The noise stopped. The warning notices from the landlord ceased. But with the quiet came an ache. A guilt that clawed at me in odd moments, brushing my teeth, folding laundry, hearing a neighbor's dog bark in the courtyard. I kept replaying everything, not just the decision, but all the moments that led to it. The ignored texts, the late-night pacing, the scorched blanket, the sickening fear I felt when I thought Bruno had started a fire, and the realization that I was the only one feeling afraid, the only one carrying the weight of responsibility while Jessica got to play the absentee hero. The more I thought about it, the more it hardened something in me. I'd asked for help, multiple times. I hadn't made a selfish, impulsive decision. I'd made a hard one, because someone had to. A few of our mutual friends reached out. 2 of them, people who'd met Bruno, were sympathetic. One even said, "Honestly, I don't know how you lasted that long." Another, however, was more judgmental. "You don't give away someone's pet. That's betrayal-level stuff." I didn't respond. What was the point? A month after Jessica's final email, I bumped into her sister, Mara, at a bookstore. It was awkward at first, but she surprised me. Said Jessica was heartbroken, but also exhausted. Mentally, emotionally. That she'd tied so much of her identity to Bruno after a difficult patch in her life that letting go of him, even symbolically, felt like losing control. But even she admitted, Jess didn't set you up for success. Bruno was too much for one person, especially someone not prepared for him. That helped. Not enough to erase the guilt, but enough to breathe again. Over the following weeks, I wrote a letter to Jessica. Not to send, just to write. I poured everything into it. How I loved her. How I didn't act out of cruelty, but desperation. How I saw Bruno as more than a dog, as a symbol of the imbalance in our relationship. And how hard it was to feel like my needs always came second to his, and by extension, to hers. I never sent the letter. She never reached out. Bruno, last I checked, was thriving. The rescue posted a video of him running beside a fence, tongue out, chasing a red ball while a child laughed off-screen. I watched it a dozen times. I cried. Now I'm sitting here, typing this, wondering if I'm the villain of someone else's story. I gave away her dog. I made a decision that ended a relationship, but I also saved my home, my peace, and possibly both of us from something worse. So here I am. AITA, for choosing my sanity over her pet, for refusing to be the emotional mule when she wouldn't compromise, for loving someone but not enough to be consumed by their chaos. I don't know, you tell me.